The morning of day 8, nearly halfway through the trip. It's starting to feel like we're on the downhill side. Mount Rushmore and Yellowstone behind us, the reasons for this trip. And Todd and I parting ways in a few days. We started the morning early, leaving Canyon Village at sunrise and driving through a fog-covered Hayden Valley. I'd hoped for better wildlife viewing, but the fog made that harder than expected. It meant a quicker exit out of the park, but it also opened up time to explore the mud volcano area before heading on. Leaving Yellowstone doesn't feel like an ending. It feels like a transition. The features fading back into forest, the geothermal noise giving way to trees, the road settling into a steady rhythm again. Long stretches where there isn't much to look at except the miles ticking by. Then the Tetons begin to appear. Not in their full shape yet, just enough to catch your attention. This is Grand Teton National Park, the third park of the trip. And even from here, there's a tension in the landscape. The peaks rise sharper, more defined, hinting at something bigger ahead. Not the moment you remember, just a preview. A first indication that the scale of what's coming is about to change everything. Driving the I don't know which road it is, but it's the inner loop road that goes along by Jenny Lake, and then we're going to circle back around and drive north back to Jackson Lake. So this is currently the view. make our way along Teton Park Road, the views keep shifting, pull-out after pull-out, each one offering a slightly different angle on those same towering peaks. We take a short detour down Jenny Lake Road, not really to get anywhere faster, but to slow down the drive, to see the range from a little closer in. As we near Moose, we make a quick stop at the Chapel of the Transfiguration. Built in 1925 and still holding services today, it's a small place, but framed perfectly by the mountains behind it. Back north, I couldn't resist a stop at Snake River Overlook. It's a familiar spot, made famous by Ansel Adams and his black and white photograph from 1942. After a couple more stops, we made it to our lunch destination, the Mural Room at Jackson Lake Lodge. The food was great, only topped by the views. Turning back south after lunch, more photo recon was on the schedule. These were stops meant to set up the next 2 mornings, quiet planning for sunrise. First, a drive down the gravel road to explore Schwabacher Landing. Then a quick stop at TA Moulton Barn, one more familiar scene captured by thousands of photographers.
I know where I'm going the next 2 mornings. Now you know where I'm going the next 2 mornings.
Yep. Airplane. Yeah. I think that's the first plane I've heard fly over since that Rapid City, maybe? I
might have heard something
in Billings.
Yellowstone.
The drive on to our accommodations went by quietly. We passed through Jackson on the way to Teton Village, knowing we'd be here for a couple of nights. Once inside, I finally had a chance to plug in the power station and see what would happen. After days of guessing and attempting workarounds, at least one question had an answer. The rest of the evening settled into routine, charging batteries, offloading footage, laying things out for the morning. Back on the road into the park, heading toward Mormon Row. An early start trying to beat the sun, and a return to a spot I'd scouted the day before, the TA Moulton Barn.
Wilson Road is fairly curvy and narrow. Not that 2 vehicles can't pass, because I've already passed a few. driving it for the first time in the dark is a little different. You got to be more aware of what's coming up because the curves come up quick. Well, I'm definitely not the only one out here. I've seen 3 cars in front of me and there's one behind me, and there's no telling how many others are already out here. Currently 6:10. Just got done with sunrise at the Moulton barn. A lot of people out there. I was probably within the first 8 to 10, something like that. But yeah, there's still people coming out here now that the sun's up and people are moving. So on to the hike.
From Mormon Row, I head deeper into the park. A short drive to Jenny Lake, where I catch a boat across to the western shore and start the climb up to Inspiration Point. So I made it back to the truck after about a 3-mile hike. I hiked the mile to Inspiration Point, and then about a half mile into Cascade Canyon after that. Also stopped by Hidden Falls, but there were so many people around. I took a few photos, stepped off to the side, realized they were out of focus, and just decided I'm going to continue on. So I got a few photos from Inspiration Point. That was pretty cool to overlook the lake, Jenny Lake, and the valley. So now headed back to the vacation rental where Todd is, meeting back up with him. and it may end up being a pretty lazy rest of the day.
Another early morning. It is 5:45, and I'm off of Moose Wilson Road onto the Teton Park Road, headed towards Schwabacher Landing.
At the stop sign, turn left on the US 191 North.
So the final morning in the Tetons, I got up and took some photos from Schwabacher Landing. When I got here, there were probably 15 other cars in the parking lot. Now there's probably, oh goodness, well over 50, probably pushing 100. There were a lot of people out there when I left. I was kind of down closer to the riverbank, and then there were people behind me and all down. I was probably only a few hundred yards down the trail, if that. But yeah, it was a good morning, nice and cold. And now I'm go back and warm up a little bit, finish packing, and we'll hit the road towards Salt Lake City. Off to Salt Lake City via Soda Springs, Idaho. So we'll be able to mark off another state on the list. midday, we were well south of the Tetons. We stopped at Hooper Springs Park, then a little further down the road to see the ruts of the Oregon Trail. Marks left by people who chose to head west because something was pulling them there. Standing there, it didn't feel distant or abstract. They knew they were leaving something behind. They had a sense of what they were moving toward, not all the details, but enough to start. I had that same sense now. The route ahead was planned, the stops mapped out, but the experience was still unfolding, 1 mile at a time. This was the last day of the trip I'd share with Todd. A good stretch of road now complete. The drive towards Salt Lake City carried on. New pavement, steady miles, and a feeling that the trip was shifting again. Back at the end of the day, the routine returned, offloading footage, resetting for what comes next. Tomorrow, the trip moves forward, a familiar place with a different experience this time, a slower pace, and a shift in how the days begin to unfold.